Hey there everybody, Andy here from Legendary Tales, and welcome back to Tales of Legend, a tabletop role-playing game for your world, your heroes, and your stories. Our first series of videos have mostly been to help new players get started with Tales of Legend, but there's one particular player that hasn't gotten the attention they deserve yet, the Legend Master. So today, we're going to go over what it takes to run a session of Tales of Legend for your friends. We're going to go over the Legend Master screen/cheat sheet in the download section of the website. We will also discuss how to deal with the economy in Tales of Legend. And finally, we will talk about designing foes and balancing foes for your heroes for combat scenarios. Thanks for joining in. Now let's begin. We are going to start by opening the Tales of Legend master screen from the download page of the website. It is the second option on the page. I bought this wonderful screen from Dark Elf Dice that allows me to slide in whatever I want. So when I made this LM screen for myself, I also wanted to provide it to the rest of you. First, we have the Legendary Tales logo. I print this out twice and make it the front of my screen when I play. But the parts that you are going to be most interested in are the 4 other inserts. I've compiled most of the important rules and tables from the book and put it here for quick reference. The quality is a bit underwhelming, but it's functional. Let's take a look. On the first page here, we see a list of aspect roles. So whenever a hero wants to do something that would require a roll, you can quickly reference the 10 options and make a judgment call as to which of the aspects or skills will cover their attempt. Under that, you have the 10 possible actions, followed by the 10 possible free actions that a player or NPC can take. And then to finish the first column, we have the conditions needed to make a trigger action happen. The higher the level, the more this matters. If you run the game starting at level 1 or 2 and slowly progress, these things will naturally come into your wheelhouse over time. On the second column, you'll see the features of combat that might come up while you are running scenarios. First, we have openings. This is what we use instead of advantage and disadvantage, and it relies on the use of the aptitude die. If you provoke an opening, accuracy rolls against you will get to add their aptitude die. If the accuracy roll would already have aptitude, you get to maximize it instead. This is the most dynamic part of a combat scenario you would want to keep track of as a Legend Master. And by the way, if that is too much to worry about at the start, just don't use these rules until you're ready, especially at low levels. Then we have cover, very simple. We only have full cover and partial cover. We don't have half cover, we don't have 3/4 cover. And then we have some of my favorite rules, wrestling. We tried really hard to make rules for wrestling that were both engaging and fairly easy to memorize. We will go over the nuances of this in a different video, but here it is if you need a quick reference during combat. What follows is the rules for dying, aka what happens to heroes when they reach 0 resolve. This will come up pretty often in my games, so I definitely wanted to have this in front of me. When a hero reaches 0 resolve, they immediately gain 4 status effects: fallen, wounded, helpless, and dying. A dying hero will die after 10 rounds or 1 minute of having the dying status. The hero has no way to save themselves. A foe can choose to attempt to execute a fallen hero. The attack must be in melee range and automatically hits. The hero then makes a difficulty 10 fate roll. If they fail, they die. If they succeed, they don't die. But for every source of damage the hero takes, the difficulty raises by 5. So for example, if you choose to have a foe attempt to execute a hero with 2 attacks, the first attack will have a fate difficulty of 10, and the second will have a fate difficulty of 15. Lastly, for this column, we have the rules for recovery periods in Tales of Legend. Here you see what the heroes recover. You can take a break once per hour, and you can sleep once per day, as long as you have the supplies. Now, taking a look at the second page, we have the rules for environmental hazards, falling, and reminders what each status effect and damage property means. These are fairly robust rules, but luckily don't show up too much in the lower levels, so take your time getting used to the basics before diving into these if you are feeling overwhelmed. Our second column has 3 sections, and then the hero development table. First, we have reminders about what special movement does, followed by spell difficulty, if you take damage while sustaining a spell, and finally, little reminders of the basics of each of the 10 spell options. On the third page, we have the hero development table. This is not only to help your heroes when they level up, but for you to reference what they can do at their current level. We also have the basics of the Tales of Legend economy. As I've mentioned before, the default economy uses a single currency system. On the right, we have the starting gear, which also doubles as basic gear your heroes would be able to find in most towns. And to the left here, just under the hero table, you see the economy table. In Tales of Legend, we do not have prices for mundane items unless they have mechanical benefit. But exchanging money for goods is a crucial part of the roleplay experience. So by providing examples of cost ranging from a drink or a meal all the way to a small keep, as the Legend Master, you should be able to determine a reasonable price for whatever goods or services come up in your game. And finally, on the last page, you see the statistics for creating foes in Tales of Legend. Sometimes in a game, a fight might break out that wasn't a planned combat scenario. Having these creature sheet templates available has helped me many times in an impromptu battle, while still keeping things relatively balanced. And that does it for the LM Screen / cheat sheet. I hope this helps with the stress of running Tales of Legend for your friends. Here is the rest of the information provided in the rules for Legend Masters in Tales of Legend. First, we have advice for creating legends and designing scenarios. This information is a good starting point, but I also highly recommend many of the dozens of wonderful tabletop YouTube channels for advice. Maybe that can be a future series on this channel as well. A note about creature waves. Tales of Legend has an opposite design philosophy from a game like 5th edition D&D. Instead of 5 or more encounters per day slowly draining the hero's resources, every combat scenario in Tales of Legend is meant to be challenging and potentially deadly. Most of my in-game days consist of 3 or less combat scenarios. Resting is easier, and getting back your resources is also easier. So, heroes can go Nova almost every time they fight. I personally find this much more cinematic, dramatic, and fun. So, in order to challenge your heroes, especially for combat scenarios that include some sort of boss, we have the creature wave. Begin the combat scenario with a wave of creatures that are going to be fairly easy for the heroes to deal with. But, before the combat is over, or before they have a chance to take a break, have a more difficult wave of creatures enter the scenario. 2 or 3 waves seem just right for me. And I can adjust the difficulty of each wave depending on how well the heroes are doing as they finish the previous wave. This allows for you to scale the combat and keep things exciting without accidentally crushing your friends. Next, we find suggestions for the number of scenarios and/or game sessions before your hero should level up, as well as suggested rewards for heroes as they explore their many tales. And then here at the bottom, you see an important section for starting at higher levels. Not only does this help you start the heroes with an appropriate amount of gear and money if you start at higher levels, but this also doubles as a suggestion for the amount of money and gear your heroes should expect to acquire during each level chapter. Finally, we are going to talk about the NPC foes that you will be using in combat scenarios. In Tales of Legend, the rules for foes are a bit different than with heroes. The creature sheet of each creature is less complicated and easier to read than hero sheets. To simplify things further, NPC creatures have 3 other basic rules. They are immune to the wounded status effect. Instead of rolling their aptitude die, you add half of the value of the aptitude die they would have, and it is already calculated in their creature sheet. And finally, when a creature gets to attack with an opening, that means you double the aptitude number. I also highly recommend that, in general, you have foes die when they reach 0 resolve, instead of dealing with the dying status. However, if it is a friendly NPC, or the heroes want to deal non-lethal damage, I would use dying rules instead in those situations. This is where we will end our video for today. Hopefully you have all the basic information you need to confidently be the Legend Master for your tables. And if you do want to run some games, please feel free to join us on our Discord server. We are getting more curious potential players each and every week. Next time on How to Play, we will be going over armor, weapons, and consumable magic gear that low-level players will be interacting with while playing Tales of Legend. I hope you will join me for that next video. If you are enjoying these tutorials, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel, taking a look at our website at legendarytalesrpg.com, and joining our Discord server. I hope to see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day, everybody.